Hello, 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 hello. We are back for Traitors Season 4, Episode 4. And first of all, I just want to come and say, Peacock, why the fuck did you release 2 episodes at once? I understand every year we release the first 3 episodes together, right? You want people to watch the show, you want them to get into it. But we didn't need 2 episodes this week. And you better not do 2 episodes next week. Because I want to review it one at a time. Also, I don't need this season to be done in a month. Like, nobody wants that to happen either. There's no reason we can't draw out the season for a little bit longer. I don't think you're going to wane interest. So, yeah, that just really pissed me off. But I did not watch episode 5 yet. I came to do this review after watching 4 so that I can still give you my predictions and thoughts without knowing what was going to happen, without Peacock fucking spoiling it for me. I would rather wait a week, okay? So, now that I'm calm, let's get into it. So the episode opens and we see all 4 of the faithfuls who were slated for murder up against their trees, and we basically just see them all remove their blindfolds, but we don't know who is killed yet. Cut the camera, we're now at breakfast, okay? Well, the camera cuts to the breakfast table, and the question is, who is not going to show up for breakfast? So we see Rob and Monet arrive first. I don't remember who else arrived with them, maybe Mora, but not important. So basically Rob has a confessional and he basically says, like, he's gonna try and play dumb because he realizes he was there last night, but no one's allowed to know he was there last night, or else that'll expose him as a traitor. Rob has this point where he mentions, in my head, I try to only think of myself as a faithful, so like I don't get confused, I don't get messed up, and I think that's really smart. I think that would be the hardest thing for me if I ever were to play this game. It would be a question of like, okay, I have to mentally think of myself as a faithful, because if I start thinking of myself as a traitor, I could totally have a Freudian slip. Just like Portia, even though she wasn't a traitor. But yeah, so I think that's really smart of Rob. He basically says he's just gonna play dumb. I think that's a good idea. We then see Monet say they should try and gather intel about what happened last night from all the people who didn't get murdered, to see if anyone's story has inconsistencies, and like that person would then potentially be a traitor. And oh my god, I was so scared for Rinna in this moment, because all we saw last night was her arriving in the turret. We never saw Rinna tied to a tree, so I was like, oh god, I hope she knows like what to say, what to do. Hopefully she was paying attention during the like what the traitors were doing, and then she just put herself on the other side. But I was freaking out for my girl, especially because we knew someone was going to say her name today. I was like, I cannot have Miss Rinna go. I cannot have her leave. I cannot. My QVC queen. Okay, so we see some more people arrive at breakfast. We see Tara, Candace, and some others. And I just want to say, I love, love, love how everybody has hats on this episode. It's so chic. We have Tara with a little black beret, and then Candace has a green beret to match her like yellow skirt suit she's wearing. And then we also see Mora has like burgundy leather cap, like kind of beret shape, but not entirely a beret. And then Alan has a hat later that we'll get to. But just everyone has amazing hats on. I love it. It's so exciting. So Ron then arrives to breakfast. Everyone decides to start questioning him. They're like, what happened last night? Give us the details. How did the ceremony happen? So Ron says that basically there was a henchman who set him free. And there's a point in time where the traitors have to walk around the tree that you're tied to. And so he thought, based on that, there could be 3 traitors. He also, in his confessional, mentions that one of the sets of footsteps that he heard walking around during the situation was like a really light footstep, like not heavy at all. So I was getting nervous too, because I'm like, damn, Candace and Rinna are both little skinny ladies. Like, they don't weigh more than 130 pounds, I'm sure. So I was like, ooh. But then Ron says he thinks the lightest little bird in here is Mora. So I'm like, okay, we're safe. We're fine. Then we see Dorinda arrive, and her outfit is also so chic. I was not a fan of her fashions initially, but this outfit, both her look today and her confessional, kill it, okay? Her regular outfit is just like a tartan type of vest, and it's like red, giving very British, and then she has these fingerless gloves on, but they're like a little bit longer than Claudia Winkleman's. So it's like, okay, first of all, little Claudia Winkleman shout out. We love Claudia Winkleman with her fingerless gloves. But so Dorinda has these fingerless gloves on, and like at the palm part right here, you see there's all these like badges and pins like clipped on. It's like such a cute little accessory. And then we also see in Dorinda's confessional, she's wearing just like a light blue suit. And like the suit's, you know, classy, very classy. But on like the lapels of the suit, she has like, again, all these little like badges and pins. What are they called? There's another word for them. Oh, brooches. She has these brooches. I think they're brooches. There's some sort of like little clip, but she like has them all clipped on the lapels on either side, and they're like round and oval shaped, and it looks like she has like a gallery wall on her lapels. It looks so chic. I was obsessed. She had amazing outfits today. Anyway, Monet then says, question, so Michael, when you walked around the trees, who was with you? And I thought that was hilarious, because it's like, okay, you're just dragging him. And Michael just laughs and is like, ha ha ha. He doesn't really answer. In his confessional, he says, I'm really trying to lay low today. He says that his attitude often gets him in trouble. He says it's something he's been working on his entire life. And yeah, baby, you've been working on this for your entire life, and it's not gotten better. The attitude is bad. We then see Lisa return to the breakfast table with some others, and she's like, I'm alive, woo! And then they ask her immediately what happened last night. So Lisa's like, whoa, hold up, I need some water, I need some tea. I just got to breakfast, I'm not ready for this. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm stressing for Rinna here, okay? I was like watching on the edge of my seat. So Rinna takes a sip of her water. In her confessional, she's like, oh God, Rinna, you need to pull it together right this second. Put that acting hat right back on. So Rinna starts giving this very, very long, detailed account. She's like, they tie your hands. And Natalie goes, who tied your hands? And she's like, the henchman tied your hands. And so she continues, and Monet says, wait, the henchman, the one in the gold mask? Tricky, trying to frame it on the druids. And Lisa's like, no, it's a black mask. Got his ass. Monet was trying to be sneaky with that one. He was setting Lisa up to fail, but she knew better. I'm so proud of my girl. So Lisa's then like, in her confessional, like, this is so intense, this is a firing squad, people are like, pow, 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 coming at me, asking me all these questions, and I am not prepared for this. So she says then they tie her to a tree, and she's like, I don't know, maybe it was a maple tree? And it's like, Rinna, nobody wanted you to get that specific, nobody even cares what type, wasn't it the dead of night? How would you know what tree it was? Anyway. She then says like she did tied to a tree, and she basically like begs for her life. She says like, I'm a really good faithful, please don't kill me. And then Natalie like got her here. Let me take a sip of water like Rinna. Okay. So Natalie says, why would you say that you're a good faithful and they shouldn't kill you, to the traitors? And so I was like, damn, Natalie, she's really getting her here. The first time I watched this, I didn't really realize why that was such like a whoa moment. And I don't even think Natalie fully realized it either. Natalie, I think, was more focused on like, why would you tell the traitors don't kill you because I'm a good faithful? Like, that's a bad strategy. But what I don't think Natalie realized and should have pressed Rinna on more, although I'm glad she didn't, was like, why would you say to the traitors, I'm a good faithful? Not even I'm a good faithful. Why would you need to tell the traitors you're a faithful? That, in and of itself, is incredibly suspicious. And thank God Natalie didn't clock it there. Natalie like got the full sentence and was confused by that. I'm so happy she didn't like stop for 2 more seconds and say like, wait a minute. No, it's the word faithful here that's weird. But they didn't clock her, so I think we're fine. Rinna flew by under the radar this time. So she basically responds to Natalie and says like, I just thought I was gonna be killed. Basically what happens next is they take your blindfold down and it's the henchman, and he has this big axe and he strikes the axe down and basically he unties your hands and you're free and you get to run away. And so here we get a little confessional of Candace being like, oh, Lisa is doing a little bit too much with this story. But, you know, she's a dramatic lady. The housewives are dramatic ladies. Just look at me. So, like, maybe I don't have to worry about this. So then Lisa asks Ron, like, okay, how was the situation for you being tied to a tree? And the camera shoots over to Johnny and Colton. And Johnny whispers to Colton, Ron didn't mention that axe. That's a pretty big detail to miss. And Colton's like, I saw that too. So then Eric arrives at breakfast and they start questioning him. He says in his confessional that he got a clue while the traitors were walking around the tree. He says he thought he heard someone laugh, but he does not tell us who he thinks heard laugh. The camera does some tricky work where they like flash to Rinna, Candace, and Rob all like doing a laugh, kind of like, okay, whose laugh did he hear? Are the traitors in a firing squad? Are they about to be found out? So he basically says, though, he's gonna hold off who this laugh was until the round table. Like, he doesn't want to give anyone this information now. And I think that's really smart. I think a lot of people haven't been doing that. I think people forget to do that. It's often very strategic to hold info until the round table, especially if you're a faithful. Because if the traitors find out about it, they're going to come up with a plan to go against you. So I thought that was smart. Oh, we then see Monet's outfit. This is like just in the flash of breakfast. I did want to mention Monet's outfit because I am obsessed. Monet is wearing a blue dress shirt with like a plaid, maybe pinkish corset, and then he has a tie on and the tie is tucked into the corset. It was like the perfect combo of like mask and femme. I loved it. That was one of the best outfits I've seen this season so far. Oh, we then see Kristen arrive at breakfast and everyone's like, oh my god, Caroline was the one who was murdered. So we get a flashback to last night. We see Caroline pull down the blindfold and she gets to see who the traitors are. And she's pissed. She sees it's Rinna and Candace and she's like, I can't believe you guys didn't protect me. She's mad. And she goes, Rinna, you bitch. And then she goes, like, why me? Why am I the one being killed? I'm the least of your problems. And Candace is like, because you talk too much. And then Caroline goes, I really thought we bonded. And Rinna says, too bad, Caroline. Back to Dubai you go. I was like, she's so nasty. I love it. And then Caroline was like, I mean, I'm sure I'll see you somewhere after this, like at BravoCon or something. Rinna's like, no, you won't. You won't be seeing me. And I was like, what are you talking about? You guys will probably see each other at BravoCon. I loved it. So then Caroline does a little confessional where she says like she thought the housewives had each other's back. And Caroline, maybe if the housewives were all faithfuls they would, but you realize a housewife who's a traitor is never gonna have a housewife's back. The traitors have traitors' backs, not faithfuls' backs. Like, we then see Alan arrive, and he says, he's like, get ready for today's mission. Things are really about to heat up. So there's our little clue. Today's mission is gonna be a fire mission. Cause like heat up, right? Okay, great. So then they say, okay, Kristen, what about you? Tell us what happened last night when you were tied up to the tree. Someone asks, how many traitors did you think you heard? She said like maybe 3 or 4 traitors. Oh, and Eric, when they asked him, he said there might be 2 traitors. So someone said 3, someone said 2, and someone said 3 or 4. So glad that there wasn't a cohesive answer, but basically Jam Jam then says, how long did the ceremony last? And Tiffany perks up and she's like, wait, did he just call it a ceremony to Dorinda? And Dorinda's like, yeah, I think he called it a ceremony. And Tiffany's like, well, that's only what you would call it if you were actually a traitor. Who's gonna call it a ceremony if they're faithful? And so we get a confessional of her where she talks about how at this point in the game, she thinks Ron, Jam Jam, and Michael are the ones responsible for the murder. And then she says, but I need to get other people in the castle to be a little bit more fixed on them. I hope I can lead a horse to water and get them to drink. And I was like, oh my God. Tiffany is the only person who's actually smart in this game. I'm so angry at what's gonna happen later. But I thought that was so smart. Like, she's playing the game right. You can think who you think the traitors are, but that's useless information if no one's gonna vote. And it's also useless if you're gonna scream at the top of the mountains, hey, everyone vote for these people, if the other people don't think they're coming to that decision themselves. In order to not be perceived as a traitor, the other faithfuls have to believe you're just sharing evidence, but they're the ones coming to the conclusion that the person you're putting suspect on is actually a traitor. You can't just like steamroll, yes, they're a traitor, and just hope people start believing you. That's how you get yourself banished. Colton, we'll talk about that later. But, Tiffany, okay, so then everyone leaves the breakfast table. We see them kind of shoot off into different groups. We see Tiffany with some people outside, and she basically asks them, like, do we think Ron is still the plan for tonight? Then we see another group. We see Colton, Rob, Mark, and Monet standing by the badminton nets. And Colton says, I'm going to take a big swing tonight. And people are like, oh, what do you mean by that? And he's like, Tiffany. We're going for Tiffany tonight. So the people are kind of like, why? Why are we going for Tiffany? Why are you so convinced? And so Colton says she sat up there and gave some half-assed, fake, sincere eulogy for Ian. And I said, I told you guys to stop having eulogies. Stop having toasts. No more raise a glass to the person who died. It's very, very suspicious. And look who's suspicious of it now. Tiffany. Colton's suspicious of you. And I remember 2 episodes ago, I said, I think Tiffany's fine by doing this. She's not really on it. Look it, and now the girl's dead. And whose fault is that? So Colton says, like, I realize this puts me in a really vulnerable position, and I also realize, like, I've been playing this game a lot more aggressively than I was initially planning to as a faithful. And Colton is really getting on my nerves. So here's what I don't understand. I don't understand how the second that Colton has a new suspicion about who the possible traitor is, it's like abandon all hope, Any potential suspects I had up until this point have now been exonerated. I'm no longer suspicious of them. I found a new traitor, and all the people I thought were traitors before are no longer traitors. All the people that I had evidence before on, that evidence is gone. It doesn't matter. I had one idea and one thought that maybe Tiffany's a traitor. And so let's go full steam ahead. All my ideas I had before this were bad ideas, and so I'm deleting those ideas, and I have a new idea, and it's Tiffany, and we're just gonna kill Tiffany. Like, it's so frustrating because, like, first of all, that doesn't even logically make sense as a good way to play the game. If you have someone like Ron or Michael who you are suspicious of, who you have 3 days worth of suspicion and evidence on, why is it then smart? Why does it then make sense to you to say, Tiffany said one thing that I thought was weird, one thing I thought was a little bit weird, and now I'm convinced she's the master traitor, she's pulling the strings, she's a puppet master. Like, first of all, we know there's more than one traitor, so I don't know why you wouldn't say, sure, go ahead with Ron and Michael tonight. This Tiffany evidence, this is key. We should maybe put this in my back pocket and maybe collect some more evidence on Tiffany. Maybe create a stronger case. But no, it's like the second you find a new piece of evidence, you just forgot all the... It's like every day Colton... It's almost as if Colton forgets the days that happened before. When he like, it's like every day there's a new day, and suddenly all the former suspects are now clear. They're exonerated. There's no suspicion, there's no evidence. Like, why does the evidence last 24 hours? It's like, I have a piece of evidence on Michael. 24 hours later, though, that evidence is no longer relevant, and I have new evidence on Tiffany. Like, don't you think it would be maybe smarter to go after Ron or Michael first, who you have numerous pieces of evidence about? And then, while that's happening, continue to collect evidence on Tiffany. Then once they leave, you can maybe say, I've been suspicious of you, Tiffany, for this many days, and I have this many pieces of evidence. So we now see all the players are heading for the mission. We see some people in their cars having discussions about who they are suspicious of. Colton, of course, mentions that if he doesn't get a shield, he's at risk. He's so stressed about a shield. He's so convinced Tiffany's gonna be the traitor and he's gonna go for her tonight. And he's convinced it's actually not gonna work and then he's gonna get murdered. Which again doesn't make sense. If you think you saying Tiffany's name at a round table is gonna get you murdered, don't you think maybe you should like build some more momentum for Tiffany? Don't you think maybe you should try not to get murdered? No. Loser! We then see Kristen, who's in Colton's car, shocked. She's like, and she's like, I cannot believe he just said Tiffany's name. I'm not really suspecting Tiffany. So yeah, she's shocked. We see Rob, who's in Candace's car, talk about, maybe it's Mark in Candace's car. We flip to another car and we see one of the men mentioning Colton's plan for later to go after Tiffany. And Candace is also like, whoa, I do not want to be going after Tiffany. Like, I think we have more evidence for Ron. Tiffany could very well be a traitor, but I think we have more evidence for Ron, so I think we should stick to the person we have most evidence for. And like, wow, who's a faithful? Candace. Candace is being a good faithful. Love it. Love that for her. So we arrive at the mission, and we see there are 10 large, 30 feet, maybe 50 feet, they're like wooden, metallic, beast-like effigies, okay? And so, the way the game works is that there's 10 effigies and 10 spears. In order to burn the effigy, you have to light it with a spear that's on fire. So there are 10 spears hidden in the woods, and they will have to break off into teams. Essentially, there are corn dolls in the woods that will lead you to the spears. I don't know how the corn, when you watch it, the corn dolls don't look like they're needing anything. Like, they got two hands, like, they're just like, you're close, like, getting warmer. it wasn't clear how the corn dolls were helpful other than being cute, but I guess they were in the woods. And so once you do find a sphere, you have to bring it to the fire pit, light it on fire. Then, as you strike the chest of the effigy that you are burning with the sphere, you then scream one of the players' names who you want to remove their shield. So basically, at the beginning of the game, everyone has a shield, and with each effigy that's burned, someone loses a shield, right? So $2,000 for each effigy burned, but also one shield lost, you know. And since there's 10 effigies, there's a max of 10 players up for versioning. And the cherry on top of this whole mission, the cherry on top of the cake, is that Alan is dressed as a corn doll. It's like not over the top, super obvious, but Alan has a straw hat on his head that's like giving basket weaving with a little like gem artwork above his right eye. And then this is where it gets good. He's wearing like a straw vest on top of his orange suit. And I'm actually gonna put a picture in because it's so good. But it's like he wears a vest that looks like it's like straw corn husk, just like the corn dolls. So he matches, and oh my god. It was amazing. It was maybe his best outfit of all time just because it correlated. I think it was better than the coffin for sure. The coffin didn't even look like a coffin as much as I love Alan. Anyway, we see Monet and Candace partner up, and Monet quickly mentions that like they should go for shields of people they don't trust, and BT dubs, he doesn't trust Lisa. Candace is like, don't say that. But Monet mentions he doesn't really have any evidence on Lisa aside from just like going off vibes. So nothing concrete. Miss Rinna still safe. So they go into the woods, they start looking for shields. The first team comes back out and decides to get rid of Ron's shield because like everyone thinks he's a traitor, so why would he need a shield, right? So you then see Monet's team run up to the effigies with their spear. And side note, Monet has got that dump truck. Monet has a donkey booty. Monet has a fat ass. My god, I was looking at that thing and I was like, Jesus Christ, I need that routine. I need that squat routine, the glute routine. I need something because that looked great. So they choose Tiffany, and as Monet's yelling Tiffany's name, Tiffany's team returns from the woods with a shield. And Tiffany's like, oh hell no, I know they did not just try and unshield me. So as Tiffany's team is running towards the effigy, Monet's team is running away, and they pass each other, and they say like, Tiffany says, did you guys just unshield me? And they're like, yeah, we did. And Colton says like, don't take it personally, Tiffany, but yeah, we did. So Tiffany's team goes up, they're like, it's eye for an eye, we're lighting someone on their team. So Tiffany decides to remove Monet's shield, and we get an amazing sequence from Tiffany where she's like, she lights it and she goes, on guard, like you do in fencing. And she marches towards the effigy. Like everyone else just kind of like walked up to it and lit it, but she had like this walk, she had this march. It was very like, it was just fun. She added a good twist to it. So then, you know, more people light their spears. Michael's shield gets removed, and as he's coming out of the woods, he figures that out. And he's pissed. He says he is offended. And so he decides to retaliate against them, and he marks Tara for no shield. It's kind of funny. He strikes the effigy screaming Tara's name, and then as he and his team run back into the woods, he just keeps screaming Tara's name. So the camera cuts to Alan, and you see him say, Michael's not quite grasping that you only need to say the player's name once. And it's like, I don't even know if he's doing this on purpose. He's like just inadvertently funny a little bit. Hate him, but he does some funny stuff. So then we see Dorinda, Mora, and Rob come out of the woods. They have a spear then. So Rob then says to Mora, Do you want to ride? As they're running back towards the fire pit with the effigies, and she's like, sure. He picks her up, throws her over his shoulder, and like fireman carries her back. And first of all, Alan says, I know Maura really likes to rely on Rob for these missions, but what about Dorinda? She hasn't had a ride in a while. And then Alan's so fucking shady. As he's saying this, he's like looking over here, and he goes, Dorinda hasn't had a ride. Look, I can't even talk. I'm too excited. So Alan says, he's looking at them arriving, and he goes, Dorinda hasn't had a ride in a while. And he looks at the camera, and he like smirks. And then he looks away. Alan, you're so fucking shady. I know what he meant by that. I had to rewind that like 3 times. That was so funny. And on top of that, hey, Rob, over here, can I have a ride? And I'm not talking about that kind of ride. I'm talking about a different kind of ride. You know what I mean? So there's 1 minute left of the mission. Mark, Colton, and Kristen find the final spear, and they're like, okay, who are we gonna pick? They run out of the woods. Everyone realizes they're the last ones to get it, so they're all like, let's follow them and see who they pick, which I thought was kind of funny too. So they decide to pick Jam Jam, strike it into his, and then Jam Jam starts crying, which I thought was doing a little bit too much. I don't even care if it was genuine. Crying over a shield is a bit much, Jam Jam. And everyone else thought so too, because Maura's like, oh, look at him over there pretending to cry. It's like, I just didn't understand why he was so upset about it. Maybe he's really convinced he's gonna die, but as Mark was kind of saying to him too, people are putting your name up for banishment, and because of that, the traitors aren't gonna kill you. Like, Jam Jam, I thought you would have figured that out at least. Like, you're a little bit of a shield for the traitors at the moment. I don't think you're gonna be murdered, but, you know. He's crying. He's sad. So then they head back to the castle to eat dinner. I'm gonna put another picture here too. This episode has so many crazy, like, camera editing. The editors were so shady this episode, okay? So we head back to the castle, see people eating dinner, and the camera cuts to Michael alone in the library. And this man, I don't know, they're eating pasta or something. He picks up his plate, puts it right to his mouth, and like shovels the pasta in his mouth. I have to, I'm gonna put the picture up because it's actually so comical, and I would be so fucking embarrassed to be caught dead doing that on national television. Wow, couldn't be me. So, after these shady ass editors show Michael stuffing his mouth with this pasta, Ron joins Tiffany and Natalie in the library. Oh, maybe they're in the billiards room, actually? Because Michael's in the library. One of them's in the library, one of them's in the billiard room. Doesn't matter. So Ron joins Tiff and Natalie, and Natalie looks Ron in the eye, and she's like, are you a traitor? Or are you a faithful? And Tiffany's sitting there right next to him, and Tiffany goes, Natalie, what the hell is that gonna do? She's like, I don't know. You know, maybe he's like got a sparkle in his eye when you say traitor. I don't know. And like, there's no harm in asking. Everyone already thinks he's a traitor. Like, you might as well see what he says, see if he clams up, see if he chokes. I mean, so then we cut to Steven, Eric, Tara, Jam Jam, and Colton in the kitchen. Steven is like still unsure about this Tiffany thing, so he asks Colton, what made you want to go for Tiffany tonight? Colton then explains what Tiffany said the night before about how like it makes sense if you're a gamer, and I think it's Jam Jam who's killing them. Jam Jam is in the room too. So Colton mentions that, and he also talks about how, what's her name? Tiffany said, like Jam Jam's in control of everybody and is leading the group. Jam Jam is not happy with this. He's like in control, leading the group. Think about those words regarding her. And Colton's like, no, listen, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Jam, don't worry. I want you to know I have your back. And then he also says, I would like to talk to you one-on-one, but I also have to work the group because, like, I have to make sure everyone is on. Jam's like, well, what do I do? He says, stay locked in on her. She's smiling to your face and dragging you behind your back. And this part just pissed me off so much with Colton too. Like, Colton is clicking down. He's clicking down fast. Wow, he might even take Michael's spot. Probably not. Actually, he's not going to take Michael's spot. But Colton, you're clicking down. I hope you know that. So, and it's like, the reason Colton's pissing me off so much is because it's this cockiness. This cockiness is what's really frustrating about him. What do you mean, I want to have a one-on-one conversation with you, but I have to work the group? First of all, you're not more important than everybody else. You're not too important to have a one-on-one conversation with Jam. Like, don't bother saying it if you're not going to do it. Loser. Loser. And the second thing is, like, I don't know who elected you team captain, Colton, but it's like, it's not your job to go work the group and make sure everyone is on one band, one sound. Like, let the people have their own opinions. And we're gonna see in the next episode what happens when you behave like this. But when you come off too cocky like this, people are gonna think you're a traitor. Like, you have this whole narrative about who you want to go home, who you think is this, and he kind of just wants to convince everybody of what he thinks. He really isn't open to hearing what other people think. And so it's frustrating me, it's bothering me. I don't like him anymore. And so right after he says that to Jam, Candace opens the door and she's like, whoa, we're not gonna do that. We're not closing doors here. And I thought that was really interesting. And I had to back up this scene too, because for most of the scene with Jam and Colton talking in the kitchen, the door is open. Like, you see the camera very specifically is pointing towards the door, and you see the doors open for a majority of the conversation. You do see one quick second where, like, Eric goes behind Colton and you see him standing near the door. You never actually see him close it, but in the scene right after that, Candace opens the door. He's way over by the cabinets. So I think it was Eric who closed it. Not super important, but I think it was him. After Candace and Johnny come in, like, don't close the door, Colton's obviously stressed because someone is trying to be, you know, because someone's trying to have a voice other than him. I don't know why he doesn't want anyone else to have a voice. He just wants to be the ringleader. But so Candace and Johnny walk in. They're like, we're not closing doors here. Colton's like, I have to go. I have to go convince other people that they should be voting for Tiffany because I'm the only one with a brain. I'm the only one who has good ideas, and I'm the only one who's a real traitor hunter. Okay, so Colton leaves the kitchen, and Candace basically says to the group, like, what's the plan? Are we still thinking about targeting Ron tonight? And I believe it's Steven who says, like, actually Colton kind of has a plan to go against Tiffany. And Candace is like, no, Candace is against this plan. Candace says, this is exactly what happened with Portia. We've been on Ron, and now we're shifting to Tiffany. Is this smart? And no, it's not smart. You're right, Candace. This is a bad idea. And the conversation pretty much ends there. Now it is time for the round table. So we get a few confessionals. Colton comes in and says he's absolutely 100% positive and sure Tiffany is a traitor, even though he has only had this suspicion for a full 4.5 hours. He says, I just need to make my points and hope people vote with me. I'm so sick and fucking tired of these stupid points. Colton, leave the show. So Tiffany then has a confessional. She says her plan is to move towards Ron, Jam Jam, and Michael, but she mentions she doesn't want to be the one leading the charge tonight because those people tend to get themselves in trouble. Colton! Colton, are you here? The people that tend to get themselves in trouble. Anyway, so the round table then actually begins for real, and Colton starts off the round table, once again, leading the charge. Leading the charge. Colton says, Tiff. Actually, no. He says Tiffany. Colton says, Tiffany, you are the traitor that I will be going for tonight, and here is why. Tiffany's like, the fuck? Where did my name come from? How did I get into this? And so Colton basically explains, like, after the conversation that happened last night, he is now very suspicious of Tiffany. And he says, this game changes very quickly, and at times I struggle to have one solid name. Tiffany cuts him off and says, yeah, you're struggling today, but go ahead. You're wrong, but I'm listening. Ate him up. Ate him up, okay? So Colton, they're going back and forth. Colton says, you laid it out like a traitor, you explained this plan, you said it very factual, you didn't like have any hypotheses or this is what I think, you said it like this is the plan and this is how it's gonna happen. Tiffany says, so you think I just told on all my fellow traitors? Colton's like, no, I think you're playing a brilliant game, you're the most dangerous, and you're a puppet master. Tiffany cuts him off and says, no, I'm the smartest, and I'm definitely smarter than you. And eat him the fuck up again, Tiffany. You are smarter than him. Smarter than most of the people in the goddamn room. And so Colton, he's mad at this. He's like, oh, so you say that you're the smartest traitor? You think you're the smartest traitor? You're admitting it. And it's like, no, she never said she was the smartest traitor. She said she was smarter than you, you fucking idiot. And Tiffany also says, no, Ian and Rob were my number ones. I wouldn't try to kill them first, regardless of whether I was a traitor or not. I don't want them to be dead first. And she says, but Jam Jam would kill them. Jam Jam hops in and Jam Jam's like, I wouldn't because I'm not a traitor. And this is where things just get real messy. Jam Jam comes in. Oh. So Jam Jam cuts her off and says, I actually wouldn't do that because I'm not a traitor. And this is where things start to get messy. Tiffany's like, I never said you were a traitor. And also, I'm not talking to you right now. And he's like, actually, you are talking to me right now. We're talking to each other. And Tiffany's like, no, actually, I'm talking to Colton. I'm not talking to you. And it's like, the tension in the room is high. The camera just cuts to people's faces. Everyone looks stressed. Everyone looks very uncomfortable with this confrontation that's currently occurring. And it's just, people are on edge. It's a battle. So Tiffany says Ron and Michael have always been on the table. She's not entirely sure about Jam Jam. And she says, and now I'm talking to you. And Jam Jam's like, damn, you don't need to be rude as hell, but I guess I'll talk to you right now. And there's no traction for what you're saying because I'm a faithful. And Tiffany said, well, I think you're a traitor. Oh no, sorry. Jam Jam says there's no traction to what you're saying because I'm a faithful. And they just kind of bicker back and forth. And Jam Jam eventually says, I think you're a traitor. And Tiffany says, okay, then write my name down then, goddamn. And Jam Jam says, okay, I'll do it right now. Can I write it right now? And he's like, no, okay. So obviously some producer in the background was like, no, you can't write it down now. But it was really funny that he was just like, I'm gonna write your name down right now, right this second. So Colton jumps back in the conversation. He says, I could have come in here and said, let's vote Ron or Michael, but I'm taking a really big chance here. I'm putting a target on my back. And Tiffany said, you are taking a big chance, a wrong chance. Hello? Just because I can think 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of everyone else doesn't mean I'm a traitor. It means I'm smart, unlike the rest of you fools. And Colton's like, well, I'm not the only one who's been putting your name out there, so I'll just let other people speak. And Tiffany's like, well, then write my name down. And Colton's like, great, do you have 2 F's in your name or just 1? First of all, never met a Tiffany with 1 F in their name, but okay. So Tiffany goes Tiffany. She spells it out and she goes, like the company. And I was like, yes, just like that company. Don't forget to tell them that. Well, Colton is then like, great, well, apparently I'm not smart, so I actually do have to ask how to spell your name. You guys, I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm like, I'm shaking in my boots. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm like, is my girl gonna go home? Is Tiffany gonna go home? I don't want her to go home. I'm nervous. I'm scared. I'm like, do we have enough votes for Ron? Very, very nervous. Ron jumps in and is like, Tiffany, it kind of sounds like you're all over the place with 3 different people who are traitors. And Ron, just because Tiffany has 3 names of who she thinks are traitors doesn't mean she's all over the place. Don't you think there are, in fact, 3 separate traitors? Shouldn't you also have 3 potential names? No? No. I forgot, because Tiffany's the only one with the brain. Maura chimes in and says, actually, Ron, you're the one who's all over the place. I heard you're putting my name out there today. So Ron's like, oh, the only reason I'm saying that is because when people were walking around the tree, someone had really light footsteps, and I think it's you. So Maura says, I'll take that as a compliment. So Ron explains his theory, and Maura basically just says, you're a liar, and you've done the exact same thing to Portia, so don't start coming for me. Like, you're the traitor here, not me. Eric then chimes in. And Eric says, when I had to plead for my life last night when I was tied to a tree, I heard somebody laugh. Everybody gasps. Who was it? So Eric says, I am 99% sure the laugh that I heard was Tiffany. And he goes on to mention, I'm a musician. I obsess over mixes like over and over and over again. I can listen to the same song 40 times to check for the mix. So like, I have my sounds down, my ears are well tuned. Tiffany goes, you might just need a new career while you're here then. Which I thought was kind of funny. So Tiffany then addresses the whole group and she says, I want to commend y'all for doing the Traitors' work for them. I'm taking this a bit personally because I genuinely need the money. And she starts tearing up. And we also see Candace start tearing up. Candace then speaks up. She says, I don't want to cry. I just feel like we're doing exactly what we did with Portia. I don't want to make another mistake and send someone else home. Points to Ron and says, when Donna went home, it put a huge spotlight on you. She then goes on to say, listen, you guys, I think there are compelling bullet points for Tiffany, but the evidence is not as strong as the evidence for Ron. And so she thinks we have to go for Ron tonight. The camera then like flashes to Rob and Rinna, who do look a little bit uncomfortable that Candace is once again talking. And I know I said I don't want Candace talking as much at the round table. I actually thought this defense here though was perfectly fine. And I thought it was giving faithful behavior much more than traitor behavior. Like the way she worded everything, just saying like, you guys, I'm not saying we should be off Tiffany, I'm just saying we have stronger evidence for this other person. So I had no issue with her bringing that up or talking at this round table. But then Ron says like, look, I know how bad it looks, take a shot and miss, and I understand you're being upset about your friend Portia being gone, but I need you to either exonerate me or send me home. And it's like, Ron, this is what the fuck we've been trying to do. Don't act like this isn't Candace's. Like, first of all, it's been 3 days since Portia left. It's not like we've been doing this for weeks. It's not like we've been doing this the whole game trying to come for you. It's been 4 days. So yeah, Ron's defense just bothered me here. I did not like it. And it's also kind of frustrating because Candace seems to be the only one going for Ron in this situation. And Candace actually says, like, other people back me up here. Like, we've been having conversations about your penchant for the sympathy narrative all day and how you only use a sympathy narrative when you have an audience and that you feel you can control and compel to shift the narrative off you. Thank God for Dorinda, because Dorinda joins in to support Candace. I wish more people would have, but just Dorinda joins in and she's like, listen, I think Candace is right. We do have to look at Ron. She's making a lot of good points. Alan joins and says, listen, the time for talk is over. So now it's time for everybody to vote. We get one confessional from Tiffany where she talks about how she's really shocked she's up for banishment. She mentions that she thought she would have had more of an idea that she was going to be up for banishment before, like, actually being at the round table and hearing her name come up. So I did feel really bad for her about that, because everyone else so far has had the opportunity to at least, like, prepare to hear their name, prepare a defense. So it was really bullshit that she didn't get that opportunity. And I think if she did know they were coming for her earlier in the day, she would have had a rebuttal and she would have had a defense for them. So Alan says Candace is going to start the vote. And it's funny, we see Candace roll her eyes. That was kind of funny. And so she explains her vote again, says she's voting Ron. Tiffany then goes next. She votes Jam Jam. Then we see Johnny vote, and Johnny says he's voting for Tiffany because yesterday they were supposed to choose someone who they trusted with their life. He trusted Eric with his life, and so if Eric's saying this, he's gonna believe him. Like, sure, whatever that means. Everyone else basically starts saying, like, yeah, Eric had some good evidence, so Tiffany, I'm gonna be voting for you. Michael votes Ron. This is still in the beginning of the vote, so I here was like, okay, maybe we have a chance that Ron could be banished. Maybe other people will vote for Ron. No. Nobody else voted for Ron. Nobody else voted for Ron. So, oh my gosh, you see Tara then say she's voting for Tiffany. Everyone else just votes for Tiffany. Everyone's like tearing. Tara's tearing up. Tiffany's tearing up. Candace is tearing up. Everyone's getting really sad. I was getting tearing. I was tearing up. I felt really bad for her. And she came in being like low-key my favorite faithful. So now it's over. So essentially, everyone votes for Tiffany. She's banished. She has to then go up to the Circle of Truth to reveal whether or not she's a faithful or a traitor. And I liked her speech a lot, actually. She goes, you guys should all be very proud of yourself because you got exactly what you deserve. And they're like, it pauses there. They're like, everyone's like, whoa, did we catch her? Did we do it? They're getting excited. They're getting excited. And she goes, and you didn't deserve me because I'm a faithful. Tiffany, you will be missed. You will be missed. You will be missed in my heart of hearts. Tiffany is banished, and you guys, I'm so bummed out. I'm so bummed out. Maybe it's a good thing because maybe she would have been too smart for the game. Maybe she would have found out Rob, Rinna, and Candace. But I'm so sad to see her go, especially this early in the game. It's horrible. It's really sad. Everyone's shocked when she says she's a faithful. And Eric's like, oh, I'm so sorry, guys. I messed up. I made a mistake. I was only 99% sure. You shouldn't have trusted me that much. Colton is then like, yeah, I made a mistake, and I made it really aggressively. Losers.
Loser!
It's loser behavior. And I'm so upset with both of them. We see Kristen and Michael in the library post roundtable, Kristen says, "I'm really starting to pay attention though to who is putting everything in everyone's ears." And very smart, Kristen. I think that's a great idea. I am a little bit worried she might be the next smartest and might figure out who my traitors are. But she makes that point. I am happy though that this little thing she says kind of alludes to her going after Colton. Because I think everyone knows at this point Colton is putting things in everybody else's ears. So the fact that she said that, it sounds like she might be suspicious of him now. Love it. Put all the suspicion on him. Michael then says he thinks one of those 3 hunks must be a traitor. Kristen's like, who are the 3 hunks? Colton and who? And he goes, Rob, Colton, and Steven. He says the 3 of them are far too swaggered out. They have too much confidence, and one of them has to be a traitor. I do think he has a good point there. As much as I dislike Michael, the 3 of them are acting confident. They don't seem worried at all. Especially Rob. He does not seem particularly worried. Colton also, like, I mean, Colton is so fucking arrogant. He's like, he's the team he seriously thinks he's the team captain at this point. Like, I don't even think he realizes how much trouble he's getting himself into by doing this. I think he's just trying to be a good faithful. It's just not working for him. He just isn't smart enough. But I'm intrigued by Michael's theory, and I think other people might jump on that bandwagon. It's now time for bed. Everybody goes upstairs to bed. And we see the traitors meet in the turret to discuss who should be murdered. So basically, aside from Rinna and Tiffany, there are 8 people up for murder, but they're like, we shouldn't kill Jam Jam, Michael, or Ron because obviously everyone thinks they're already traitors, so that's a shield for us. So they kind of mention that the only people that they should be considering to kill are Johnny, Monet, Tara, Maura, and Steven. They go over their reasonings. Maura, if she was killed, would kind of pin the blame on Ron, but both Rinna and Rob mentioned that's like a little bit too blatant of a theory, and so people might not actually fall for it. They mention Steven is kind of random and doesn't leave trace to them. However, they also mention that Steven is really good at the missions. They then point to Monet, and Lisa's like, well, didn't Monet say my name? Should we kill him? And she asks Candace, like, was anyone else around when you heard him say this? Candace says, no, nobody else was around, but, like, I don't know if he has told other people this. This was just the one conversation I'd heard. And I thought that was a really good point for Candace to make, because we don't know if Monet has been going around saying Lisa could not be trusted to other people. And if he has been saying that, I do think it could fall back on her. They also mentioned that Monet is really good at missions, though, so, like, it does hurt the team. If he were to leave, Rob says Tara's valuable because she doesn't know what's going on. Hilarious. And this is what I was saying at the beginning of the game. I was saying she or Portia could be Gabby Windy, could be ditzy, unsure, faithful, but not a threat. I think she's gonna start playing the role, and I hope that takes her to the end. But yeah, Tara hasn't got a clue. She'll just go with what people say. And so obviously very smart to keep her in the game, very influenceable. And they basically conclude by saying, like, none of these people are housewives or gamers, so it throws off the pattern. I think we're safe. And the episode ends there. We don't know who is murdered. We will find out next episode. We get a little preview of the next episode that apparently has already been released, of Michael saying he's gonna accuse Colton of being a traitor. It seems like the two of them kind of have a tiff and go back and forth about that. I hope Colton leaves. I'm sick and tired of him. And I just hope he gets backlash for this act. Like, I feel like he doesn't have any of these consequences for these bad, faithful actions that he keeps doing. And so, banish him. Get him out of here. But yeah, the episode ends there. In terms of predictions for the next episode, who will be murdered and who will be banished? I think it would probably be best to murder either Steven or Johnny. Obviously, I don't want Johnny to be murdered, but I think he's a safe kill. I don't necessarily want them to kill Steven, because obviously now that Michael's on this hunk theory, Steven has suspicion on him. I don't know how influenceable Michael is to the rest of the group, though. He's actually not really influenceable. So maybe him thinking Steven isn't actually a good shield for the traitors. Maybe he should die. I don't think they're gonna kill Maura because I think Rob has too good of a relationship with her. Also, side note, I wouldn't be surprised if Rob and Maura started dating after this. They like have some sort of chemistry, and I think they would be really cute together. I don't think they're gonna kill Monet. I don't think they're gonna kill Tara. I think it's between Johnny and Steven. I would say 50-50 though. I'm not really sure who I think. And then in terms of banishment, I would like to see Ron be banished. I would also like to see Colton be banished, but I don't think that Michael and the others will have enough momentum to actually get Colton banished. I think it'll kind of be close between the two of them next episode, but I do think Ron will go home over Colton. That's good though, because if there's suspicion that gets drawn up at the round table for Colton and he doesn't get banished, then Ron reveals he's a faithful. It does make Colton look worse. So maybe that's the most ideal plan of action, but we will find out next episode. Okay, I love you guys all so much. Thank you so much for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Goodbye.